Welcome to the Dalton Police Department's Behind the Badge. I'm Chief Riello, and thanks for joining us today. We have a special show today. Actually, before we begin, folks, it's been a while since we've done one of these shows, but everything is pretty much still the same in the community with the whole COVID thing. So I just want to remind you folks to mask up when you're out. If you're outside, just use good judgment and keep your social distance. We are here in the studio. You'll see when I introduce my guest, who is actually the top cop in the town of Dalton now. So we're socially distant and we're being safe. Anyways, having said that, welcome again. I couldn't be more happy to be here, and for a couple of reasons. I introduced myself as Chief Riello. Well, I'm Chief Riello, retired, because the person we have here with us today is the real chief of police, and that is Chief Deanna Strout. And I'm going to introduce her in a second. I just want to say a couple of things, and I hope we get into today, folks. And this was a long process, very, very involved. This did not happen overnight. Many people were involved in the search. Many people were involved in the selection process, and it was probably more brutal for the candidates. I observed a lot of it, and I'll tell you, the end result could not have been better, but it was extremely well earned. And that began 23 years ago on this Dalton Police Department. Anyways, I go on, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to introduce the chief, who needs no introduction, and that's Chief Deanna Strout. Welcome, Chief Strout. We're two chiefs, but not really. You're the real chief. That's the real chief, folks. So, anyways, and let's talk a little bit about the selection process, because I know a lot of folks don't realize, really what went in. They know that you've been on the police department, you applied and you were chosen, but it was so much more than that. 26 candidates. Mm-hmm. Then the selection committee reduced it down to, what was it, like 8 or 9 that interviewed?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about it.
The first round, after I submitted my resume and cover letter, the company, there was a consultant company that the town hired, and they reduced the candidates from 24, I believe it was, or maybe 26, down to 9 based on our qualifications and our cover letter.
Right.
So,
and that was education, police experience,
right.
Experience as a senior officer, as a sergeant, that kind of thing.
And they were really looking for skills and commitment to community policing as well. So.
Right.
And then from the 9, we were assigned 6 essays, and we had to complete 6 essay questions in about a week and turn those in. And then we were again reviewed by our search committee and also the company that the town hired. And from the essays, we went from 9, and they narrowed it down to the top 5. So. Right.
This is over a period of months, folks. This did not happen.
A very long period of months.
This started last August, and the reason, and I think you'll agree, Chief, the town, saw this as an important decision for the town of Dalton, not just the police department. Mm-hmm. And I think the Board of Selectmen, and then Chairman Bob Bishop, and Vice Chairman Joe Divers, who was also the chairman of the selection committee, they took this extremely seriously, and that's the only way you can do this when you're looking to pick, the chief, the top cop, because your philosophy and who you are is reflected in the department. After the essays, then. Mm-hmm.
So once we completed our essays, we got narrowed again down, like I said, to 5, and then the top 5 of us interviewed in front of the search committee as well as the consultant company, and then the top 5 were narrowed down to 4, and then one of the top 4 dropped out for personal reasons, and that left us with 3. Yeah. And the top 3 of us went through what's called an assessment center exam, and I've been told that's like an interview on steroids. They're not lying. They are not lying. It is a very intensive 4 to 5 hour process where we are brought into a room alone. It's you wear a name tag with basically a name so you remain anonymous. So the panel doesn't know who you are. They don't know where you're from. They know nothing about you. You're given a scenario. You have 10 minutes to prepare your response, and then you get walked down a hallway and you sit in front of people that you don't know, all of which are chiefs throughout Massachusetts, and you answer and present your scenario. And they do their best to distract you and to ask you questions and to question your responses to make sure that you give not only the correct answer, but you can defend that correct answer.
Exactly.
So it's a very intimidating process, but it was good.
Well, it is, and as the chief said, folks, it's intimidating, and it's a real life test, if you will,
Right.
real life scenarios, and the assessors that really push the candidates, try
Yes.
to push you over the edge,
Yeah.
see what kind of response they get.
Yeah.
Are you going to be level-headed, cool-headed? So when you say it's like an interview on steroids, that's
is.
exactly what it is. I
Yeah.
mean, it's intense. It is
Yeah.
seriously
and,
intense.
and it's knowledge-based, it's skills-based, it's decision-making abilities, it's all sorts of real-life scenarios with, role-playing where you're, answering questions for like community members or union members or an employee issue, all sorts of different issues that we would truly deal with as the chief. So.
Right. And that way they can better evaluate the way you're going to respond as the chief of police,
Right.
To these similar type situations, which you know that you're going to run into, and you've already run into them as a sergeant
Yes.
and as a police officer,
Right, right.
And it's about, that kind of thing. So, sometimes folks, when it says, well, there was an assessment team, or sometimes it's not understood what is involved in this process, because it's grueling. It really is.
Grueling is a great word for that.
And then after the assessment center, we weren't done, folks.
No.
It was just kind of in the middle.
Right. So we completed our assessment exam, and then we had a community panel interview, which basically we sat in a chair and we had rapid fire questions at us. We had no idea what those questions were, just like we had no idea what the scenarios would be. I was asked questions of, all over the gamut. It just, different questions. I personally was asked more questions about my community experience, things I knew in the community. And then once that was completed, we were narrowed down to, we remained in the top 3, and then we interviewed publicly in front of the select board. So we were rated in our assessment. It's an exam, so you get rated on your assessment level. And then the select board, I believe, was given our ratings.
That's right.
And then we interviewed in front of the select board, which was public, and anyone could watch, and the media got to watch. That was a very new experience for me. Definitely a little intimidating and challenging because
there was like 80-something people on the Zoom.
I think that was the night that they made their selection.
Okay.
So they had a little
All right.
pressure that night. I had a little less pressure because
All right.
they were watched by quite a few people. But it was different, having everyone watch. It's like trying to interview for a job and having anyone and everyone watch your your interview performance, including my children logged in and watched. So, that was definitely different. That was a different experience. They were a big part of our process, so it was funny.
Yeah. So they were all the way to the selection process. And I remember, as I zoomed in, I was watching it along with everybody else. So, and then they made the selection. What? Talk to us a little bit about that.
That night was actually pretty funny. It was like the real life Survivor game. It really was. It was this whole, there's nothing I can tell you that was stranger than finding out if you got the job that you wanted while the public found out at the exact same time you did. So I had no heads up. I didn't know what they were going to do. It was a big deal. Like, so many friends and family were logged in. But my brother and, of course, my husband and the kids were all at the house. Our administrative assistant, Rebecca, was at the house. And we were all just watching this live. So it was a really funny, and as they're talking, we're all sitting there and just, it was a very strange experience, to find out you got the job at the same time everyone else did, including, the public, the media, your friends. There was really no...
Right. It wasn't like they took you aside and said, hey, you are the finalist, you are our choice, and here's why.
No.
And now we're going to televise and just say, we picked her. That wasn't the deal.
No, it was done live, and I had no knowledge of what was going to happen. So, thankfully it went our way. But
it did. It went the way for the community. It really did. And I know we've talked a little bit about this, but the support once because it wasn't released early
Right.
on that you were a candidate. It wasn't
Right.
until almost the very end
Yeah.
when folks knew that you were a finalist. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you that there was a deluge of
Right.
outpouring of support and letters sent to the Board of Selectmen, sent to her. And, you know, it's just so nice to see the community respond. And I thought about that. I said, well, the reason the community is responding like that is because they know you.
They do.
They know the kind of police officer you are, what you value, what you do.
Right.
So,
you know, it's funny because to be completely unexpected in the amount of support, you know, both social media, which is probably a new aspect to our community. Social media support was unbelievable. You know, the select board received countless letters, you know, most of which I wasn't aware of. People just took it upon themselves to email them. But then, you know, I had amazing letters of recommendation. I had support from other chiefs and, you know, a lot of community members. It was humbling, actually. It was just, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, just to just do your job for this amount of time and have people say, hey, what a great impact that we've had. And, you know, that's kind of my goal now it is my goal to get our officers to be involved just the same way I was. I mean, I love people. And I teased Chief Riello at my swearing in that, you know, what I loved about him is that he talks as much as I do. So we never had a quiet day at work while he was the chief. But, you know, you know, for me, it's really getting our officers, because we have such amazing police officers in Dalton, and we hear a lot from people saying, oh, I don't know the officers anymore. Oh, you're going to. I promise you that you're going to. They are amazing humans, and they love the community just the same as I do, and they're really excited, you know, to get involved and be able to be encouraged to be involved, because it's just a new vision for us.
I think the sense, you know, at the Dalton Police Department is very similar to the community, in that they're not only hopeful, but they're excited. They know that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So many times you'd hear in the newspaper or in the news that, oh, Dalton, the police department, oh my God, terrible year. No. These kids, and I say kids because I'm not, are professionals, and they've moved forward, folks. That is not a department in turmoil.
No.
That is a department that is ready and raring
Yeah.
and has been going.
Yeah.
You know, folks, you've met them on the show. You've met several of the officers who are excited to come on and tell you what they do. I mean, you are blessed, Chief, with the patrol officers and the staff that you have.
I am, and they're so excited to do the job, and there's nothing that we ask of them that they don't accomplish quickly and with enthusiasm. They're just great humans. I cannot wait for our community to really get to know them the way I do, because they're just fantastic people. You know, one of the things, so I've worn a lot of hats in our department, and I still continue to do so. But my love was always the investigations. I've been a sexual assault investigator for 18 years, and I'm a SANE interviewer out of the Berkshire County Kids Place, and all of those experiences have helped me develop that skill to be able to talk to people well and listen and hear what's going on. And you know, now I'm kind of, it's an odd time. I'm passing that torch and making sure, you know, that I'm teaching them to do the same way that I did it. And you know, and I've learned a lot from so many others in the county that there was just never an agency that I couldn't call and say, hey, you know, I haven't seen this before. What do you think of this? And, you know, I have a lot of those relationships throughout the county and beyond the county, you know, statewide, really. And everyone's always so quick to help when you need it. And, you know, it's a great skill to do that. So.
And it's great to have those contacts and to have that reputation, especially now as chief, because as you said, and you've said to me, you know, the role does start to shift a little bit, where you're responsible for, you know, all of the officers that are there. So any parting words to the community, not parting words, but words to the community of what they can look forward to seeing with Chief Deanna Strout?
Well, I know, you know, some people were saying how, oh, I'm going to miss you in patrol. As you can see, still in patrol. I still go on calls a little bit less, because I have a little bit more administrative responsibilities than what I had as a sergeant. But, you know, I have all intentions of being out in the community, you know, stopping in our local businesses and backing our guys up on calls and just being here and, you know, always approachable, because I love I love people and I love talking to people. So
And
that's
also
always
been a DARE officer for how many years?
22 years.
22 years. Drug abuse resistance education, folks. It started a long time
Yep.
ago, and Dalton is still doing it, and the chief has been a huge promoter of that.
Yep.
We just wish you the best, Chief. You're going to be
Thank
such
you.
a success, and this town is so blessed to have you. And having said that, best of luck to you. You don't need luck. You've got the skills to do it. Anyways, folks, I just want to thank you. Yeah, I know I talk a little bit, but I'm excited too because I'm soon to be retired again for probably the fourth time. But it's been a wild, wild ride here in Dalton. I've loved every minute of it. Loved the community, loved the folks I've met, and especially the members of the Dalton Police Department. And I'll tell you right now, with Chief Strout, sky's the limit, folks. So remember, let's do the whole mask, social distance, and remember, if you see it, if you hear it, report it. Thanks for joining us behind the badge. Have a great day.